All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
I'm Wish TV government reporter Garrett Bergquist. Voters in Muncie will decide next month who will lead their city for the next 4 years. Democrat Jeff Robinson is challenging incumbent Mayor Dan Ridenour. Robinson currently serves as the city council president. I recently sat down with him to talk about his reasons for running and his vision for the city. Let's bring in Jeff Robinson. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Garrett, thank you so much for having me. I love the fact that Wish TV is doing this. Interviewing candidates in our municipal elections around the state is an important election year, so thank you for having me.
Why are you running for mayor of Muncie?
Well, I'm Muncie's my hometown. I grew up in Muncie. I'm a Ball State alum. I've been serving nonprofits in the community almost my entire career. I've been on city council now for 4 years. I'm in my third year as city council president. I've come to learn we've just got to do better. We have to do better in Muncie. Decisions have been made, not just on this administration, but administrations of the past, that put a focus on really re-election. That's the only plan that this current mayor and other mayors have had, is how do I get re-elected? Not necessarily the long-term goals of the community and setting the community up for success 20 years from now. So I decided it was time for me to run and act in the best interests of my community.
This summer, Muncie became the latest American city to experience a mass shooting. What's your plan for preventing future mass shootings?
It's horrible. It broke my heart to hear that and to go through that with our community. It was heartbreaking. And look, Muncie has issues that a lot of other cities have, particularly throughout the Midwest. We have poverty, we have drug addiction, we have mental health issues in our community. These are all symptoms of a much larger disease, and that disease is crime. We have to get more proactive. We need to go more towards community policing. We need to be strategic in how we police our community, knowing where the hot spots are in our community, where crime is highest. We need to target those areas. We need to bring in youth. The current administration has put together a task force to look at ways to do things. We need to not only do that, but we need to have a youth task force. A lot of the crime being committed, not just in Muncie, but elsewhere, are being committed by young people. It's tough in the state of Indiana when you have permitless carry. Everyone is carrying guns, and what we see is more people are willing to use those guns. So it's not just one thing that you do to fix that, it's a collection of things that you do to fix that. And what we need to do primarily is bring in experts, put experts around the table, look at other cities, see what other cities are doing that has worked. And we need to duplicate that in Muncie. It is a big problem. It is a very big problem, and we need to get more proactive in how we approach and address that issue.
You've made infrastructure a major part of your campaign. You've called for repaving 82 miles of roads and adding ADA curb cuts. How do you plan to do that without raising taxes?
Well, it's quite simple. We have every city in the state of Indiana has what's called economic development income tax funds. The city of Muncie brings in about $4.5 million of edit funds, some of which is encumbered long-term through bonds and other obligations. But, we intend to we'll take out the bond. It'll be a $25 million bond over the course of 20 years. The average payment, or the annual payment, will be about $1.9 million a year. We'll pay that back using primarily a pledge of those edit funds that I just spoke about, but also local road and street tax. Local road and street, as well as wheel tax distributions, a small portion of each will also go back to helping to repay that bond. If you drive through Muncie, and anybody watching this that has been in Muncie or lives in Muncie know that our roads are a very big problem. Your roads are the foundation of your city. It's where commerce takes place. It's how people get around your city. And what we have now is an embarrassment. We have to make it a priority. And what we have found, knocking on doors throughout the city for the last 6 months, that is largely the number one issue of most doorsteps that we talk to folks at. So, this is it's a bold plan. It's a bold plan. $20 million towards paving those 82 lane miles of road and $5 million in sidewalk infrastructure and ADA accessibility. Look, we have sidewalks that are crumbling. We have sidewalks that are 60, 70 years old, that trees have uprooted them. We have sidewalks that grass has overgrown. Wheelchair users cannot navigate our city, and that is absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Not to mention, and I've told folks this before, I had an instance about a month ago. I hit a pothole in my car. I was on MLK Boulevard in Muncie, and I cracked my wheel, busted my tire. That repair was $1,050. Now, I recognize I'm fortunate. I was able to pay for those repairs. But that type of damage to a car, to anything, that could be the difference between somebody getting back and forth to work, picking their kids up. People may not have that money to fix it right away. So it's a quality of life initiative as well. We have lagged far behind in terms of our infrastructure. And, like I say, it's the foundation of your city. If the foundation of your house is crumbling, you don't put a pool in the backyard. You focus on the foundation, and that's what we need to do as a city, and that's how we move forward. I believe that it's the biggest economic development project that our city can undertake right now is infrastructure.
You've spoken of the need to adopt people-focused strategies. What do you mean by that?
Well, people-focused strategies means a lot of things. Look, we in Muncie, we have issues that, again, a lot of Midwestern cities have, so-called Rust Belt cities. We are a city that at one time had over 20,000 union members working. The factories left many, many years ago, and what we have now is over 30% poverty. We're second highest in the state. We have a drug addiction, a mental health crisis in our city that we do nothing to address. Even small things, we do nothing. So people-focused policies is really that quality of life. It's taking care of working with the nonprofit organizations and the service providers that are already working in those spaces in terms of drug addiction, mental health. It's working with them. What resources might they need? How can we attract federal grant funds, state grant funds? How can we as a city assist in that endeavor? And then you look at post-secondary educational attainment. Muncie is among one of the lowest in the state when it comes to post-secondary education, directly tied to our poverty rate. We have to start thinking about our citizens. We need to start thinking about, and look, Muncie is filled with people, one of the most philanthropic communities in the Midwest. We have great foundations there providing funds to address some of these issues with these nonprofit organizations. And we have citizens who are willing to roll up their sleeves and go to work. What we need is strong leadership to be able to break down those silos that so many of these nonprofit organizations have. Look, they're competing for the same dollars. All of them. There's duplication of services. How can we break down those silos, bring everybody to the table to work towards that common goal? And what you need to do is you need to have strong leadership to even begin that process. And that's what I think we as a city need more than anything right now is leadership.
What's your plan for Southway Plaza and Till Pond Urban Park? You've criticized the current administration's approach to those.
Yeah, well, Southway Plaza received a tax abatement last year, and of course, the current administration took out a $3.5 million bond with some of those funds going towards the renovation of the parking lot of Southway Plaza. The current administration wanted to add a park in the middle there. There was a lot of promises made. The company that purchased that building was to have come in and put 50 IT jobs in that space. None of that has happened. Nothing has happened. Some of the parking lot was torn up last year. Very quickly after that tax abatement was passed, they moved in, they tore up some of the parking lot. It's sat that way ever since. The building doesn't have proper HVAC. They've lost tenants. There's an autism clinic at that location, as well as a Dollar General, both of which had days throughout the summer they had to close because it was simply too hot. Nothing is being done there currently. next year, when that tax abatement comes to council for their compliance forms, I would hope that next year's council would rescind those tax abatements because they haven't been fulfilling those promises. The current administration, again, Till Pond is another great example. This has been a promise that the mayor has made to the southwest side of Muncie since 2020. They purchased that land, have been telling us all along, and again, included in that $3.5 million bond as part of Southway Plaza, another was Till Pond. They told us they were applying for a DNR grant. They were going to get this DNR grant. They wanted the matching funds, which is why they wanted to borrow the money. That DNR grant never came. It's still sitting, nothing happening. Again, this was a carrot that he has been dangling in front of those residents on the southwest side of town for over 3 years. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. And that property has since become an even worse shape. There are people that are living, some of our homeless population have taken up residence in that area. People are dumping trash. They're dumping couches, tires, you name it, are being dumped out there. We have to do something out there. If we're telling folks we're going to do it, we have to do it. We can't just make it another promise that is unfulfilled.
What's one issue we haven't talked about that you think is not getting enough attention right now?
Of course, the drug addiction and mental health crisis that we talked about earlier. Muncie and Delaware County, again, not unlike other communities. We have people who are suffering. We have homelessness. We have so many people that are struggling in our community. Government is not always the answer. Government is certainly not going to fix that problem by itself. But I think local government and at any level of government, we can certainly help. We can assist. We can come alongside and stand shoulder to shoulder with those partners that are working to improve the conditions currently. Muncie, anyone that is familiar with Muncie, been to Muncie, it's a beautiful community, great people. But we have our problems, we have our issues. And again, we need to be focused, laser focused, on the priorities of our community. So really we need to work however we can in helping to address that issue.
What makes you the best candidate for this job?
Well, that's subjective, of course. I know I'm the best candidate for the job because I put people first. I put our community first. I understand that making decisions for the betterment of our community sometimes is a tough decision. I'm willing to make those tough decisions without care about re-election. I'm somebody that believes that if you do the job and you do it right, re-election takes care of itself. You don't need to be laser focused on your own re-election, right? I also think I'm the better person for the job because I understand the struggles that our citizens face. I've been there. I've had those struggles. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, barely scraping by, giving plasma to make utility payments. I've been there. I understand. And I understand people need a little bit of help. They need a little bit of encouragement. And also, I think I'm the best leader for the job. I have the ability to bring folks together. And I know that in order to solve the problems that we face as a community, we have to bring all people to the table. Interestingly enough, I mentioned I'm in my 3rd year as City Council President. Muncie City Council is a Republican majority. They've chosen me to be their president because they know I will work with anyone without care for politics. To be honest with you, I hate politics. I think politics is so dumb. I want to serve my community. That's it. And in order to serve my community in this way, I understand I have to do the politics side of it. But it's ridiculous. We all just need to work together. If I felt that the current administration was doing a great job, and again, I've been on council 4 years, I've seen the things that have happened behind the scenes. I've tried to work with this administration. If I thought they were doing a good job, I wouldn't be doing this. I would not be doing this. I'm doing this because we need a change in city government, and we need a change in the mayor's office. We have to start focusing on the priorities, our basic responsibilities.
Jeff Robinson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Once again, that was Jeff Robinson, Democratic candidate for mayor of Muncie. And remember, you can catch All Indiana Politics every Sunday morning at 9:30, only on Wish TV. I'm Garrett Bergquist. Thanks for listening.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.